Hello everybody, we have another rapid game with the black pieces against Calpigua, rated 920. They open up with e4, they can claim in the center, we go d6, controlling a square in the center. They develop their bishop towards the center. We're going to develop a minor piece, a knight, towards the center and attack their central pawn. They now have to respond to this so they don't lose their pawn and the game. So white goes d3. This protects the pawn in the center, opens up the development for his bishop. Solid move. We're going to go e5. We're going to stake our claim in the center. We're going to control the d4 square, and we're going to make room for our bishop to develop. White goes knight f3. This doesn't threaten anything. He's simply developing a piece so that he can castle. We're going to go bishop e7, develop a minor piece, just so that we're able to castle next turn. White goes knight g5. This coordinates with his bishop on the f7 square and tries to do some type of fried liver attack. But because we moved our bishop last turn, as opposed to, let's say, our knight or our other bishop, we're just in time to castle, and now the rook defends this pawn. So the pawn is adequately defended, and if white does decide to take, this is always bad for white. We simply take the knight because it's forced. He takes our rook, forced. We take his bishop, forced. And now he has a rook and a pawn. We have a bishop and a knight. And the bishop and knight are going to be much more devastating than this rook in the corner in the middle game on a1. So white continues with his development. Bishop g5, pressuring the knight, but it's defended, so no big deal. We just want to continue developing and playing in the center, playing according to principles. So you have lots of options here. You have the option of moving knights. You have the option of moving bishops. You could also immediately play in the center, perhaps with d5. But I'm going to go the development route just to keep things simple, since our king is in a weird spot. Also notice that because our king is slightly weak temporarily, there is this diagonal. It's currently not the biggest deal in the world, but it exists. For example, if he takes our knight and we take back, maybe he's planning on trying to throw in a check, which again, you could just go king g8 and you're fine, but maybe that's something he's intending. So we're going to actually mess with him and develop at the same time. So we're going to go bishop g4. This is a developing move that hits the queen, stops any queen h5s, and more or less forces him to go f3. Now f3 doesn't help his position. If anything, he's going to want to go f4 instead of f3 at some point. It blocks the queen. It's not scary, and now we can happily move our bishop. So we could have put it on e6 to begin with, but then he could have just made normal moves and his pawn wouldn't be on f3. So I'd rather his pawn be on f3, blocking his queen's diagonal. So I threw that in. White goes knight c3. This develops a minor piece towards the center, so pretty decent move. Can't really complain about that. We also want to continue developing. We are going to go with the very simple and whenever we play these Philidor structures, you notice the same piece development scheme. We always have this pawn chain. We have a knight here, right? The bishop, dark square bishop here, light square bishop here, and then we end up putting our other knight here, and then we end up playing c6. So it's almost always a very same structure because it's pretty strong. So we're going to develop the knight here. This instead of the c6 square, you could definitely develop it to c6 if that's what you want. I'm just going an alternative route so that I have the c6 pawn move available to mess with his knight and dominate it. It's just an option. White plays d4 instead of castling or developing. What does this threaten? Well, if he takes, it's not a threat. but if he pushes, my bishop is trapped. So you could move your bishop outside, but he'll just keep attacking it. Maybe you can retreat it to a6. That looks like something, but you can also keep it simple and just take the pawn. That doesn't, I don't see anything wrong with that. And when he takes with the queen, well, now you have two nice dark squares for this knight, now that the pawn is no longer there. So that's also an option. So let's, well, bishop out, he kicks it, we go back. I mean, that's not good for him. So maybe we just go that route. And if he, like, let's say our bishop's outside this pawn chain and he pushes, that's not going to be good for him either, because we're just going to go c6 and break it down like we always do in the Philidor. So, you know what, let's throw in this one. We could take, but that does bring his queen closer and let him long castle faster. Okay, so he takes the pawn. But in this case, I said this wasn't scary because we can recapture a number of ways. Oops. If we recapture with the knight, it looks nice because our pawns are connected, but that also encourages an f4. And then you have to calculate. Then I guess you can retreat to c6. And if he keeps pushing, that doesn't work for him. You could do that. If we take with the pawn, that also looks super strong. So let's just take with the pawn, maintain our stronghold in the center, and then we can play c6 to dominate his knight. And our knight always has the c5 square, as does our bishop. And our position looks great, and I'm much happier to have two minor pieces for the rook. He can't castle, and he doesn't have a light squared bishop. To stop me. So he does play f4 like I said he would want to one day, but that day is not when your king is in the center. That day is when you're castled and you have rooks here. But he's trying to open up the center when he's not castled. So that's not scary. Also, if he takes, I can just take back. That's not scary. I could also take first, which shows what I'm going to do, because now I could put my knight here. It's a beautiful outpost. There's an isolated pawn in the center with his king behind it. His bishop has to take, which means it's no longer even looking at my stuff. It just looks really bad for him all in all. So yeah. So what do we want to do? His king can't castle. Takes. I'm gonna go with what I mentioned earlier. c6. It just takes away any knight hops from him, which is always nice, and it gives my queen another avenue of development, as well as removes this pawn from danger. So for example, I wanted to go, let's say, knight c5, double hitting this pawn and queen trading, but at the end of that line he would have taken my pawn. So now the pawn's not going to be hanging. He moves his queen. This doesn't threaten anything except my bishop, which is hanging, and prepares long castle. Drawback, the queen's in the center, but our bishop's hanging, so we don't want to lose it. I don't also necessarily want to move it if I don't have to. So can I defend it? Yes, I can develop, I can improve a piece while defending it and offering the queen trade. Queen trades should be good for me, as two pieces are better than one rook. And if he avoids it, he has to move his queen yet again, giving me the turn back. And so our knight made its way to b6, but that's quite alright. Our king, relatively safe, even though it's still on f7, and I haven't taken the time to move it back, which you could always have done at any point, is try to make it a little safer. So white develops a new piece, leaves the a2 pawn, but develops another piece. But as I mentioned, I'm happy to trade stuff because I'm up material, or at least practically speaking. So now he's hitting this, but it's defended. His knight's on a precarious square. We could maybe hit it with the bishop, and he'll have to retreat. That's a move. But then we don't have any rook d8 because the bishop doesn't support it. So there's that. I kind of just want to bring my rook in. I just want to bring a new piece into the game. Like, I don't want to complicate things for no reason. Like I said, I'm happy to trade, so I don't want to get fancy. Just my last piece is not doing anything. Contest his rook that's controlling an open file. What can be wrong, right? So we just take back, and now we have the bishops, 2 knights, 2 bishops. He's got this rook in the corner that he can't even bring in the game because he can't castle. At least if his rook was on d1 already, you can say, okay, his rook is putting in work, it's a game. But instead he undevelops to prepare for the next game. What is this move? Maybe he's just trying to like find a... I have no idea what that is. I'm not even going to make it up. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to ignore that. All I know is it undefends this. So I'm going to take it. Because now without that central pawn, and by moving my knight, I can get this bishop somewhere. Like here, offering the trade with, you know, developing with tempo. Yeah, so he was hunting my bishop because he really wants the castle. But once I go bishop a6, I guess he can't even push c4. Okay, he could sack the pawn temporarily to castle, but it all looks terrible. He's hitting my bishop. I could go here, which is a nice square, but I'm going to keep this annoying diagonal just for fun. It also dominates his knight. It is kind of a weird spot because it doesn't have another, like there's no, it's on the edge, so it only looks at one diagonal. But that's often the case with fianchettoed bishops. They're strong for that one diagonal, even though there's not like another side of the board. So this comes with a clear idea of stopping castling, dominating the knight. If he wants to castle, he has to play c4, and when I take, let's say with the knight, he can try to castle. But then I take the knight, his rook's hanging behind it. So he moves his bishop. More weird moves that I don't understand. Okay, this I think no, I still don't understand. But yeah, anyway, we want to get our bishop back into the game. We want to just trade stuff, make our life easy. Okay, so he's avoiding trades, which is fine. Probably because I have no time. So now I need to move fast. I only have a minute. I don't want to lose on time. If he castles now, I win more material because the rook's x-rayed. If he does this, he still can't castle, and I got one pair of pieces off the board. I'm still gonna stop castling. His king can't move to these squares. Now c4. b5. Castles. Okay, so he can castle now at the expense of this pawn. Okay, he doesn't do that, so I'm gonna make sure he can never push these pawns. I'm not making the best moves, I'm just trying to not lose on time. Let me protect this pawn. I wish I had a rook. One rook would make this checkmate so easy. Check. Check. That's not checkmate? Here. Okay, I thought that might have been checkmate, but I missed that square. Whatever, we take the rook, we go back. Is there no mate here? Oh, whoops. I just hung a knight. But I took his rook, so that knight was trapped. But I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so he has nothing on the light squares. So I just need to bring my king to light squares, right? Or I can go for this queening of the pawn. King here, bishop here, checkmate. Or we can go for... Okay, so I can bring my king in here. Notice his king can't move, really. Now I just need to relocate this bishop 1. Okay, if I can get my king here, that's even better. And then my plan is to move this back and this up. This back and this up. And now I'm creating a type of force field that okay, so his king has no legal moves, so this check is checkmate. Okay, good. So I just walked it into the corner with the 8 of these pieces. You can kind of ignore the end of the game, but let's go through it. Okay, so center and development. Development and center for free because it comes with the threat. This is center and development. This is development, prepares king safety. This is king safety. And then here, white's not really supposed to take, but he does. Notice that back here, if you do something like knight out and he goes knight here, you're not in time to castle to protect this pawn. So it's important that we focus on our king side development like we've done, and now we're in time to castle. Forced move, forced move. And now development for free because it comes with the tempo and the queen, but because you know he's going to play f3 and you know you're going to go back to e6, it's not actually for free. If anything, you gave your opponent an extra move, but you did it on purpose to provoke this move. And then development, center. And now there's a forcing move. You either have to take or move your bishop, basically. So forcing move, a forcing move. And now this is center and development again. And now forcing move because you have to move your bishop or defend it. Now here, it's not forcing. You can do some stuff, but why would you leave his queen here? And then the rest of the game is just me trying to trade pieces, which I do. And then I have 24 seconds. Oh, no, not here. I don't have 24. But, like, there's nothing else to talk about here. You just try to trade pieces here and move your king up. Like, so the move by move analysis is whatever here. Let me go to the analysis board quickly. Request a computer analysis. Come on, you can do it. Like even here, the computer says -2 already. Yeah. Bishop c7 was. Alright, so yeah, basic stuff. Basically, you can't do this whole fried liver thing if your opponent is going to defend against it. You can't trade 2 pieces for the rook. It's just not going to work out for you. So don't do it. That's a big takeaway from this. And if your opponent does it, you should be happy. Look to exploit it with simple, principled chess. Hopefully, this helps. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Good luck.